It is week 4. I've got crazy underdog picks. You're just gonna have to trust me on this one. And crazy, sexy Neapolitan pizza from Motorino. All is right in the world.
It's simple. We love college football, we love ridiculous food, so let's pick some huge games against the spread every week and eat until it hurts. It's easy call.
Let us talk week 4. This one's a fun one, especially after a down week 3. The headline game in the ACC, of course. Florida State hosting Clemson as 19.5-point favorites. Keys for the Tigers. After last year, at home getting killed, the road gonna be even tougher, especially with the losses on offense. That's huge. Number 2, the running backs for Clemson. We saw some success on the ground with Oklahoma State against Florida State. Clemson, DJ Howard need to be able to succeed. And finally, the secondary for Clemson. They lose a couple Florida State big receivers, but Rashad Green's very, very good. This secondary, new corners, they're gonna need to take chances in order to shift field on the road. Keys for the Noles, the offensive line needs to be able, this is an All-American offensive line. Carlos Williams can win this game. Clemson's D is good, but they can make inroads. Number 2, the defensive front. If they can get to Cole Stout or even Deshaun Watson, if he gets reps with 4, there's no stopping Florida State. There's probably no stopping Florida State anyway, but that's just a disaster. And the final key for Florida State, their secondary. They're probably gonna be asked to be put on an island. Not a huge issue because they are that good. They did it against Clemson last season and succeeded against better Clemson receivers. It's going to be a nice night for that Florida State secondary if they're just go guard somebody. I'm going to go Noles here, about 42-20. I just think there's too much firepower on both sides of the ball and Clemson loses too much. And look for Florida State at home to send a big national message after looking a little bit down against Oklahoma State. Let's go Noles. Let's go with a margarita pizza from Motorino. It's somewhat basic, but if you can't do margarita, you can't do pizza. So I'm going to get into this in a second. Second game, another big Florida team, the Gators, going on the road to Tuscaloosa to take on Alabama. The Tide 16.5-point favorites against what could be a pretty good Florida team. Keys for the Gators. First, quarterback position. Jeff Driscoll has the ability. The offense isn't going to ask him to throw the ball downfield a bunch. Just get in a rhythm early. Next, speed. Demarcus Robinson has shown flashes of being a go-to receiver. You can pick on the Alabama secondary. Let's see that early and often. And finally, the defensive front. It's really pick your poison with Alabama's offense, but if they can get to Blake Sims or Jake Coker, if they can get hands on Derrick Henry and TJ Yeldon, enormous. They've stopped the run thus far. Keys for Alabama, their secondary can be exploited. I don't know if Florida's offense is the one to do it, but Demarcus Robinson is a talented enough player to do so. Next, coaching for Alabama. I know Alabama's offense is Alabama's offense no matter who's running it, but Lane Kiffin against a good defense, troubling still. And finally, running backs, Derrick Henry and TJ Yeldon. Can they shoulder that load? Give Blake Sims or Jake Coker 3rd and 3s, 3rd and 2s to really make this easier. Play actions, I think so. It's gonna be huge. I'm going to go Gators to keep it a little bit closer than 16.5. I think Alabama ultimately runs away with this game, but I think Florida puts a little bit of a scare into them early. I'm going to say 27, 28, 13, right around there. Alabama takes it, but Florida keeps it close enough. Now I'm going to get real close to this pizza. First of all, the first thing that stands out, the charring. Huge, huge deal. You see the crust, that leopard spotting, look at the bottom. Charring. That means hot oven. That means things are getting hot just in general. Oh man, the fresh mozz, always go fresh, when in doubt. You got the charred basil, you got the heat pockets. Oh man, it's creamy, it's smooth, it's everything I want, ever. All right, let's go to the Big 12 headliner, Oklahoma, West Virginia in Morgantown. Actually, get this out of my way because I'm doing more things with pizza. 13-point favorites, Oklahoma is on the road. 13 keys for the Sooners. First, the road. Tough place to play. Big game, Bob. We've seen it before. Next, the secondary for Oklahoma. We know West Virginia is going to be throwing early and often. How deep are they? Because they're going to be throwing to 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 receivers. That will be tested. And finally, the running backs for Oklahoma, especially when now Keith Ford out with a broken foot. The depth will be tested there. Samaje Perine, he's good. He's going to shoulder more of a load. Ryan, excuse me. He's going to be very, very good for the Sooners. And keys for West Virginia. First of all, X's and O's. We've seen Mike Stoops, the defensive coordinator for Oklahoma, go to Morgantown and suffer. Holgo has to come up big here. Next, depth for West Virginia. The starting defensive players, not bad, but over the course of a game, they don't have the 2s and the 3s to come in and spell guys big against Oklahoma. And finally, speed for West Virginia. Virginia. Kevin White is a legitimate #1 stud receiver for West Virginia. How often can he get loose against Zach Sanchez in that very good Oklahoma secondary? I think West Virginia covers here. It's too loud and too tough a place to play. I think Clint Trickett is too talented in this offense. So I'm taking the Sooners to win outright. Let's say 30-21. Some 30-24, 34-24, sort of in that 8-10 range. Yeah, let's go Sooners. I'm going to go Soprasada here. That game's going to get spicy. This is about to get spicy. Oh, we've got the spicy Soprasada chili flakes, a little bit of herbs in there. Sneak preview. Oh, it's so good. Good spice, the charring, the textures. Again, you see that leopard spotting in the crust. Elite. I don't want you to see this, but I kind of do. Next game, matchup between the Big Ten and the ACC. Miami going on the road to Nebraska. Nebraska 7.5-point favorites. We'll get this out of my way, but I really don't. Okay, fine. It's like a child going away to college. Don't go. Keys for Miami youth. Brad Kaya, true freshman starting at quarterback. He's not bad. Started the season a little bit shaky, but if he can hit on play action, that's a big deal in a tough stadium. Next, running back. Everybody loves Duke Johnson. If he can succeed on early downs, that makes the job that much easier for Brad Kaya, again, in a tough place to play. And the defensive front for Miami. Force Tommy Armstrong to make tough throws. He's a lot of interesting and good things, Nebraska quarterback Tommy Armstrong. He's not accurate. That is a fact. That is what we're dealing with right now. So Miami needs to get to him and confuse him. Keys for Nebraska. Balance. They're beat up. They have good receivers. Amir Abdullah cannot do this on his own. Miami is good enough to force one-way play. Got to get more out of Tommy Armstrong. Next, the defensive front for Nebraska. Can they get to Brad Kaya? Can they force difficult passing downs? I think they can, especially Randy Gregory, young quarterback. Sounds scary to me. And finally, help for the Huskers. Beat up on the defensive line. Beat up at wide receiver. They need to be able to rely on depth that they couldn't against McNeese State. I know that sounds crazy. I'm going Miami here to cover. I think they lose close, 27-24, somewhere in there. A really nice game, maybe a little bit ugly. I was tempted to go Miami outright, but yeah, let's go Nebraska just barely squeaking by with all that sweet Big Ten, not momentum, let's call it slow momentum. I'm going with that. And now I'm going, oh God, I've been excited for this one. The Brussels sprout pie. You've got smoked pancetta. You've got the sliced up, shredded up Brussels sprouts. The charring, again, the pattern, elite charring. It's almost Miami colors too. Maybe that's a sign. Brussels sprouts, you don't see that on pizza a lot. It's a white pie, so no sauce. So they're letting the Brussels sprouts and pancetta sort of dance together, and they're dancing real close. Things are getting steamy, smoky.
Let the bass kick.
And finally, the Thursday night game. This one's going to be a fun one. Auburn going on the road as 8.5-point favorites to Kansas State. First key for the Tigers, the road itself. It's a remote place. It's a new place. It's going to get weird. It's one of those Thursday night, you never know type situations, and Kansas State's pretty good. Next key, the quarterback position. Nick Marshall can be a wizard, and he's going to need to be against a really disciplined defense. That's what you can count on with Kansas State. And finally, the last key for Auburn, the offensive line. A little beat up before the season, obviously. Cameron Artis-Payne has to come up big because that Kansas State defensive line, there's some big-time names. Ryan Mueller, probably the biggest one of all. They need to be very good in a road, tough road place. Keys for Kansas State. It's going to all come down to Kansas State's defensive front. Ryan Mueller is really dangerous. They need to be able to trust their keys, their gaps, their coaching, and not their eyes, because Auburn, Gus Malzahn will play with those. Next, speed for Kansas State. Tyler Lockett's at the point. He can get open against anyone. Do it against Auburn. I don't care how good your defensive backs are. Tyler Lockett is Tyler Lockett. And finally, coaching. If Kansas State's going to win this game, keep it close even, they're going to have to play 4 quarters of insanely fundamental football. Tackles in the open field, sending Auburn outside. Everything needs to be clicking. Kansas State has a chance. I'm going to go Auburn here. There's too much firepower. I know it's a road. I know it's Thursday night. 8.5 feels, it feels low, and that's why it's a little bit dangerous. I think they win this game by 10 points and barely cover. Probably in like that 34-24 area, maybe 31-21. I don't know if that's too high scoring. In that range, I'm going War Eagle here. I don't feel great about it. Kansas State, dangerous on a Thursday night. Get this. I can't look at this anymore because now it is time. I need beer for this. Can we get a beer? Topping power rankings, there it is. Got some pork slap, local New York. Hope it doesn't explode in my face. Topping power rankings. Number 1, Pepperoni and things like pepperoni, sopressata, anything that can curl up on edges, anything cured pork and thin. Come on, what are we talking about? 2, sausage. Let me be specific. Crumbles or chunks, not thinly sliced. Number 3, I'm gonna go garlic here. I like that sweetness. I like garlic being a part of my life. I like it being part of my pie. Maybe controversial, maybe you thought a meat option there, but I'm going garlic. Number 4, I'm gonna go peppers. You can be hot, you can be sort of just sliced and mild. I like a pepper. I like that sort of combination of sweetness and spice there. And number 5, and I know this one's gonna be controversial, I'm gonna take a quick swig. Pineapple. Hear me out. It has to be joined by something spicy, salty. Ham isn't good enough. The Hawaiian, come on, that's garbage. If it's sopressata, pepperoni, mortadella, something like that, it works well, the sweet and spicy. Yeah, I know. Pineapple, what are you gonna do? So those are the picks. Florida State, Florida, West Virginia, Miami, going Auburn on the road. I made you money last week. I'm gonna make you money this week. Eat at Motorino. It's ridiculous. We'll see you soon.